lot of times people are afraid of the supernatural. They're scared of what it represents. And I think a lot of times they're just scared of what the supernatural is going to show them about themselves. I'm not afraid of the supernatural anymore. It was the year 1999. I had just become country music's most successful debut female artist of all time. During that time, I met my future boyfriend. He was a television star, and I was introduced to him by his mother. He was very, very sweet, very, very gentlemanly. I felt like I had met the man of my dreams. It was what everyone would think to be a fairy tale. However, there had been many, many times when we were just doing normal, everyday things, where there was that sick feeling in the pit of my stomach because the waitress seemed to know my boyfriend too well, or the flight attendant seemed to know him too well. But I was young, and the things that you overlook to find love are, sadly to say, a lot of times selling yourself short. I was getting ready to do my second worldwide promo tour. I went out into our garage and found an empty duffel bag, packed that bag, and got ready to go. We checked into a really beautiful, old, ornate hotel in Scotland. We had to climb up these really spiraling staircases to get to the rooms, and it was just beautiful. I got done performing that evening, went back to my beautiful hotel room. There was a gorgeous flower arrangement there with my favorite lilies, and the room was a 2-story hotel room that had big windows from ceiling to floor. And all of the windows were open. And it was raining. So I was kind of shocked that they would leave the hotel room windows open when everything was really kind of damp. So I had to climb up onto the back of the couch, and there were 4 slats. Each one had its own crank. I closed them all up and proceeded upstairs. There was a fire lit. It was burning very, very lightly. It was beautiful. And that's when I started to feel sad. You know, I was all the way over, halfway across the world by myself. I just wanted to get into bed, pull the covers over my head, and sleep away the feelings. So I went into the bathroom and got dressed for bed, and I noticed that I heard the rain louder. It was so much louder that I was like, well, I must have forgotten a window. I must have left one portion of it open. So I walked back down the stairs, and the windows were open again. So I climbed back up on the couch and I closed the slats again. As I walked back up the stairs, I noticed that the room was getting increasingly colder. I was like hurried to get back in the bed and get under the covers. I kicked something, and the duffel bag was sitting at the foot of the bed with nothing in it. And then I started thinking, well, how did the bag get unpacked in the first place? I left it downstairs, and who brought it up here? Did the hotel unpack my bag for me and put it at the foot of my bed? And why was the duffel bag the only one unpacked and brought up here? Once I got it open enough, I could see there was a book, a really pretty book with a picture of a carved stone statue. My first reaction was to immediately put that book back. And as I looked at the book, I felt a sense of really, really intense guilt, like I shouldn't read the book. I decided to put it away and honor privacy. All of a sudden, I heard shoes, hard soles on the wooden steps. I was looking in the dark so hard. I could see nothing but shadows everywhere. I was paralyzed with fear. I actually said, "Is someone there?
Is anyone there?
Who is that?" And all of a sudden, I didn't hear the footsteps anymore. So I picked up the book and started examining what it was exactly. Right as I did that, the fireplace did something very, very weird. It kind of gushed, and the flames rose bigger, and it was startling. It was like breath coming from the fire. I started thinking about how things like that just don't happen. Everything in that room was telling me, you have to look at that book. So I opened the book and I saw what it was. It was a journal or a diary. And it was my boyfriend's. What was written on those pages were conquests, which no girl that you put a ring on her finger, that you talk about having babies with, ever wants to read. But it was exactly what I needed to read. I read all I could stand to read. It was just enough to let me know that breaking up was the right thing. I threw the book in the fireplace, and it just burned an intensely vibrant light. I looked at the fire, and right as I looked at it, it did that same breath. There was no mistaking what was going on in the room anymore. Every single detail had come together so that I would see those words written on those pages. I felt a feeling like I had never felt before. It was enlightening and peaceful. I ran down the steps in my pajamas to the lobby of the hotel to find a very sweet young Scottish gentleman, and I looked at him and said, "Is this place haunted?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am, it is," and that I should have nothing to worry about because it was haunted by nuns. It had been a monastery for nuns. They were buried underneath the hotel still. He said, "If they visited you, it must have mean that you needed a mother tonight." And I just couldn't stop crying. I just started bawling. There was one thing in the world that I had never really honestly had, and that I really needed at that moment. It was a mother. When I walked back up the stairs, I remember getting into the bed and I slept unbelievably well. Sometimes things of this world are just not enough to teach us. Sometimes we need some help from somewhere else, from beyond.